lecturer. She has also been a guest speaker and also supports organizations as they go on their journey on onboarding and recruiting and retention within their firm. So Kat, wait, welcome. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm looking forward to this conversation so much.
Yeah, so I know one of the things we're going to talk about, what we're going to cover today is myth busts and standouts, right? How to be a standout as you're doing your job search and your career development, and then understanding what recruiters, HR, and talent acquisitions are looking for, and then how to land that job and keep growing. And what Kat's going to share is also the skills metric. So it's very interesting. It's going to be such a game changer. She's going to share and highlight how her daughter utilized it to land a job most recently too as well. So we wanted to go ahead, and I know you submitted some questions. Kat and I wanted to address a couple of those before we get started, but also keep in mind that we're probably going to have an opportunity to address those throughout the presentation as well. But it's always, if you have any questions, put them in the Q&A. So the first thing we're going to open up with, we want to ask you kind of a survey pop-up question. Where are you currently looking for your new job opportunities? We're just curious about this, and once you give you a few minutes here to reply.
All right, we have 51% participation, so we'll wait till we get up to 70 or so before we share the results.
Yeah, I'm going to be curious to see the results of these. I know one of them surprised Kat and I, and even Kate, when we were talking about it. It's more people look for job opportunities, so we thought this would be a good way to get started.
All right, here we go.
Company career page, Instagram, LinkedIn. Okay.
Excellent. Company career page. That one makes me especially happy. That's fantastic. In order to do that, you have to have already identified a company that you're interested in, and that is amazing. That's great work.
And also, you know, the Indeed monsters. I love to see, we saw networking friends, because Kat, I know we're going to touch on that, how important that is. 31% of you said that. So thank you so much for sharing that. LinkedIn is still not kind of the go-to as well, as far as employers. So thank you for sharing that. And we wanted just to bring it to highlight kind of where you could go and look for those opportunities. And all of those answers are right. Those are multiple things when you're building and looking for those opportunities in your career for your next step. So we're going to go ahead and answer another question that was pre-submitted. How to come across keen but not too keen when networking. We saw networking was one of the answers there on the list. Kat, do you want to address that? Kind of, what are your thoughts on that?
Sure. I think if I understand the definition of the word keen to mean overly enthusiastic or overly excited and come across not quite as cool as maybe you think you should be, but I don't think that exists. If you have targeted a specific role at a specific organization and you've mapped your career to that role, which we're going to talk about a little bit later, exactly how to do that, then you have all the reasons in the world to be enthusiastic because you have the data that backs your ambition. If you're just throwing emails out all over the place and acting as if you love every job and it's the perfect job for you and not being fully honest, then yeah, that enthusiasm is going to be, first of all, the hiring managers are going to know right away. So it really doesn't work. But if you're going after a targeted career that maps to your values and your ambition, then enthusiasm is a fabulous thing.
And then enthusiasm, like you said, Kat, if you're prepared, right? You're very intentional and genuine about your questions and your curiosity, then I think it will come off in a very positive way.
I agree.
Yes. So the next question, do employers still view job hopping as really bad?
Yep. Yep. I mean, I think that a person should focus on the job that's right for them. And if the job is right for them and they go after it in the way that we help you understand today, then you're not going to want to jump jobs. But what happens again is there are too many people applying for roles that they aren't really that enthused about, but they just say they want to get their foot in the door. And then as soon as they get in, they want to get their foot out the door. So it is not a great idea to job hop. I'd say 2 years. I'd say go to a job that you really truly believe that you can at least be there for 2 years.
I agree, Kat. I mean, most employers 2 years, right? Because it takes at least that first year to really understand what the job is and what you're doing. And then the second year to kind of get your feet grounded. And then you can absolutely, if your next step is strategic in regards to your career path, then it tells your story. So you're the potential employer that you're applying for, though it may see it 2 years here, but 2 years there, but they can see the progression and you're very strategic about that.
Yes. Yes.
So the next question, the final one we wanted to address before we get going. I've noticed a lot of positions are looking for industry-specific candidates. How can a job seeker get around this?
Industry specific, you said, right?
Yes.
So the way you get around it is to make sure that that's the industry that you're mapped to. So going after a career, if you have a very strong interest in one industry and you're going after completely random industries, it won't work. So employers are looking for people that are interested in staying within that industry. Now, you don't have to do that in your first job. Nobody expects everybody to understand how to find their perfect first job. Finding a job is a very long process, and it's not linear. It's going to be bumpy, but being in the right industry has a lot to do with you doing a lot of pre-work to find out which industries and which companies and which careers are right for you.
And I agree. And also what you're going to learn too, sometimes you can have some transferable skills. So when Kat shares about the skill metrics, that's going to help you align that, because maybe even if you don't have that particular industry, but maybe you have particular skills that are going to stand out that aligns with those potential opportunities and open roles too as well.
I just saw a chat where there was a follow-up to the job hopping question about consulting and gig jobs. Now, that's different. So I think, Roz, you said it pretty clearly. If there's logic behind it, then it is not seen as a negative thing. So if you're hired as a temporary social media manager or something, that's a logical career that was an understandable start and finish timeline, then that won't hurt you. It's when you just are taking a job, quitting a job, taking a job, quitting a job, and it's just super random and there's no logic behind it. That starts to make people nervous. We'll get to a little bit later how much it costs an organization when they lose you. It's very expensive for an organization to lose you. So if you're being weighed against another candidate that has better history of tenure, they're going to go with that one because it costs too much to lose you.
And I agree, Kat. And I would say, I mean, I do it all day. I'm in the recruitment world, and we do have candidates that we do work with who are doing consulting temporary opportunities to build up their skills, right? So if it tells your story and your journey within your career for your next opportunity, then it should be looked upon positively, because you are actually building your skills in a field, in an area that is most relevant to you, and that you can bring those assets and attributes to your next role. All right, that was a great follow-up question. Let's say, please, that's what we want. Just put some questions Q&A in there, and if we can, we'll address it. So let's start off with this first slide, Kat. I know you want to share a little bit about the history and story behind why this one stood out to you. You wanted to let everyone know, based on this quote, that building their career is a journey.
This slide really speaks to the idea that great success has come from overcoming environmental, political, economic struggles, right? So this generation, Airbnb, for example, they came out of during a housing market crash. They noticed that the people that owned real estate noticed that property values were plummeting and foreclosures were increasing and real estate investors were losing money, and they were looking for alternatives. And that's really how Airbnb came about during a time when nobody would have thought to get into real estate. And so when we talk about the environment that younger people are going into in the workforce, it's an opportunity. It's an absolute opportunity. You already know who your customer is. You already know what your end goal is. And all you need to do is figure out how to map that journey. So you're much better off. And also, if everybody in your generation is thought to be late to work or late to meetings, All you need to do is show up 5 minutes early. So some of them are very, very simple to solve for, and you really help yourself stand out. So the negative climate that you're feeling and you're reading about is actually an opportunity.
And I mean, that leads way to the next slide where we're talking about, I guess what we like to say, the elephant in the room, right? So these are probably things you're reading and hearing about employers. I mean, a recent survey when employers were asked some of these questions related to it, 6 out of 10 of them kind of related to these responses. So I'm curious, Kat, not going through all of them, and I think you touched on it a little bit, how can they combat some of these preconceptions when they start looking for opportunities and even starting their first day at a job?
So the thing that I'm hearing, and I hear this a lot. So I'm either speaking to young professionals, people starting their career or early on in their career, or I'm talking to the organizations that hire them. And I will tell you that it is, if it's not 100%, it's very close to leaders who think one or the other of these and other of those myths that you hear about. And it may not be fair, because I know that you wouldn't even be on this webinar if that was you, but that's what you're battling. And so when we break it down, there are two things to really think about. There's your knowledge and your skills. You've learned those. Those are things that you've learned through education or trade school or certifications. Then there's the other piece, and that's leadership. And all of these things really fall into that leadership bucket. Those are not necessarily taught formally in education, but they can be learned. Skills and leadership or leadership attributes can be learned. So it's really another little bit of good news for all of you.
I know, I love that, Kat. I mean, you just gave an example. If they say, the stereotype is being late, right? And I do want to say, we don't generalize any group into one category. All that we're sharing is what research and surveys have shown. So that's why we wanted to go ahead and bring this slide up. And so these are what unique studies have shown. So these are soft skills, as they call them. These are things like Kat said, you can develop these, you can change this narrative. So if it says, initial to handle constructive feedback or oversensitivity, ask for feedback, right? And then take and ask for kind of, how would you take action on that? And then show and deliver on that particular feedback, right? Because as long as it's constructive, I get constructive feedback, and I've still been in my career for a number of years, and I appreciate it because it helps me do my job better. I rather know than not know. So just think about it that way. All right, next slide. So talking about current state, we talk about, kind of what employers are saying in regards to the perception. Let's talk a little bit about the stats here. Why it's so important to understand talent acquisition.
So in any role, in life, really, in any way, it's always good to know about your customer. What are they being measured on? Because that's what they're going to care about most. And so it's really good to know what HR, what talent acquisition is looking for, and what are they measured on, and why are they, when they talk to you, what is it that they're truly trying to do? They're trying to find the best person for the role that's going to stick around. Let me just toss this out to you. Consider this. The cost of let's just say a company has 1,000 people. And we know here that 27% of the workforce next year is going to be Gen Z. So that means 270 people at that organization are going to be Gen Z. And the statistics show that about 60% of Gen Z leaves their job in the first year. So that in that particular company with 1,000 people, that's 162 entry-level contributors that will leave. It takes this says between 6 to 9 months. I'm going to go super conservative and say, okay, let's say it only takes 3 months to replace an entry-level person with an average salary of $50,000. That company can expect to have an expense of $2 million in replacing their entry-level positions. It's cost these organizations a lot of money. So what you can do to help them is to show them that you've done the work and that you can prove to them through your experience and your examples that you are aligned with this job and your intention is to stay there. Now, things change, everybody knows that, but to prepare for it and to be able to answer questions based on these things that are important to them is really going to put you a step ahead.
I love that, Kat. And also it shows you that's why they really want to invest in you when you get there, right?
Yeah.
Because of this cost and understanding the numbers behind it. So I'm so glad we brought this up. Next slide. So Kat, this is where we're getting ready to get in the meat of everything, right? Right before this. So current state, understanding yourself. Can you tell a little bit more about the initial breakdown of this?
Yes. So again, the role of a candidate is to sell the customer, and in this case, the customer is the HR executive and their hiring manager. So what you're trying to do is make sure that what you're selling to them is something that you can back up by fact. So I'll give you an example. My son is in his first, he just got his first role as a hiring manager. This is not my Gen Z. This is my one that's just barely over the Gen Z. And he has his first opportunity to hire somebody. He puts a posting out there. He gets 480 applicants in the first 4 weeks. Of those, 85% were unqualified. He spoke to 41 of them on the phone, whittled the list down to 10 and brought 4 in person. So this is one example of multitudes of hiring managers that are getting inundated with this kind of a resume that isn't really meant for that job, or the person isn't meant for that job. So when you start by really understanding yourself, your current state, what is it that you have to contribute? And we're going to go through this today, but what is it that you have to contribute? And can you truly look somebody in the eyes and say, listen, this is what I've done. I have mapped my career to this job because of this, this, and this. And I can tell you examples of why I'm going to be good. What happens, what I see a lot is people that go in without a lot of conviction. And a lot of people honestly say, I'll take anything. And that, while it seems like maybe that feels good to say that because it shows that you're hungry, it really doesn't tell us anything about you. So you have to be able to tell somebody very specifically why you're good at this job.
And I think it also touches on what you said previously, Kat. It allows that hoppiness, right? Because you want to ensure that you find something that you fits you and what you're looking for. So that question on, does job hopping look poorly? And we say ideally that 2 to 5 years where you should stay in a role so you can grow and develop. Yeah. This will kind of understanding yourself will eliminate some of that too, lessen that chance or likelihood of you hopping.
I agree completely.
All right, next slide. So this is going back to your traits. I know if you're curious, like, okay, Kat, you mentioned leader attributes, and just keep in mind, you don't have to have a leader title to have these attributes. So Kat, I'll let you go further into this.
So on that last slide, we talked a little bit about skills and things that you've learned. And then the other piece of it are your leadership skills. So when you're looking for a long-term career, you're looking to enhance both. But what sometimes happens is that people forget that the leadership is what sets them apart actually in the office. Once you get into a career, people aren't going back and saying, where did you graduate from college? They aren't saying that. Once you get your first job, it's from this point forward that you really begin to focus on your leadership skills. Now, those can all be learned. I know a lot of people think that these are attributes that are inherent in people, and some of them are, right? Confidence. Some people seem to be just born with that great attribute, but those things can also be learned. And the biggest key here again is that it's your role to manage them instead of saying, my manager did this, or I wasn't developed by this company or whatever. It's really your role, just like your healthcare. You need to be your own advocate. Now consider this. Gen Z is on this webinar. Gen A is being born this year. So if you're beginning your career right now, in 20 years, you're going to be managing Gen A. And if you think Gen A is going to reverse the pendulum and go back to the way the boomers had the boomer sensibilities, it's not going to happen. They are going to be a handful in the greatest way ever They're going to want you to help them in the way that you're asking your leaders to help you. So if you start thinking about that now, those will be your customers in 20 years. The people that report to you, they will then be your customers.
That's awesome. Yeah, I agree with that. And I wanted to address, there was a question that's just dropped in here, Kat. I don't know if you see it. What's your take after giving so much and bringing a lot of innovation to the organization, yet you aren't rewarded or recognized for the efforts and work done?
Stay, the job hopping, do you stay where? Okay, I don't know. Is that the same person writing that? For sure, you don't stay anywhere where the work environment is toxic. That is, there are very few things that I say hop a job for, but a toxic environment, and that means one that is absolutely against your value system, or you are truly being abused, or, you know, that's a really ugly case. And no one should stay in that, just like you shouldn't stay in that relationship, that marriage, whatever, you shouldn't stay there. Now, as far as you're bringing innovation, now I'll just tell you, there are ideas that are brought to an organization from all different areas, from customers, from the industry, from all over, from competitors all over the place. So it's very hard for people to believe it, but it's very rare for an idea to have come from one single person. So in innovation, I would have to know more about this specific case, but innovations, my background is in innovation. I had my first job when I was 5, and I've innovated. I've been a founder of 2 startups, and I've managed a angel fund, and I work with the University of Chicago and Notre Dame Innovation School. So I'm around innovation a lot. Very few ideas are the first idea, the first person that ever had that idea. So I would want to know a little bit more about this and why, and you're welcome, whoever wrote that is so welcome to reach out to me, and I'm happy to put some time on a call with you and go through it and try and understand a little bit more about what you did and why you think that the organization discounted your contribution.
I love that. All right, I think we stayed yes in the toss. So next question. All right. So we're going to get ready to get into the skill metrics, but before we go into it real quick, before we get Kat to kind of delve into how you can create your resume based on your skills, and she's going to show that to you step by step, we want to ask a question in regards to how many of you are currently use AI in your job search, and how are you using it? I know AI can be used for your LinkedIn photos. I know I've seen those for headshot and things like that. But how are you utilizing it in the form of you're doing your job search?
Right, we have about 60% participation. So wait another 20 seconds or so and see. Spoiler alert, it's pretty even across the board. We're using it for all of these. Let
Wow.
me share this. All right, here we go.
You are right. Interesting. The lowest number is the job search aspects of it. Are you surprised by these results at all, Kat?
I don't know. I think that it's become a crutch. I think AI has become a crutch to just do everything. I wish that number wasn't so high on resume writing. I wish that the number wasn't so high on cover letter writing. But as far as searching for a job, interview prep, and research, it's an amazing tool.
Yeah.
So yeah.
But what they're going to be able to see if they are utilizing AI for their resume and cover letter, that you're going to help give them the tools to kind of formalize those, right? Because if you're using it for your resume, just ensuring, I just like to tell this story because I know sometimes AI it's the future, right? And it's moving 50 miles an hour. So it's not going to go away in a sense. AI's been around for a long time. but in regards to how it's being used today, it's just going to be more encompassed in your job search, your resume finding. The only advice we want to make sure we give to you before we go into is if you're using AI for your resume creation or cover letter, if you're not doing so, and the only reason I bring this up is make sure you review it and make sure it's still your voice. So the example I have is we were working with an individual who was preparing for a interview, and we had the resume, but then they used AI afterwards to revamp their resume. They went to the interview, and when the question was posed about one of their experiences, it wasn't recognizable to them because AI changed the job title based on the skill sets that was presented when AI was creating the resume. So it threw them off. But how do you think that was perceived in the interview? Right? It was perceived as, wow, is this resume, is this skill really a skill that or a job that they have held? So just be mindful. AI can be a very powerful tool and it gives you the foundation to get you started. I know my daughters are in the job search. One, my youngest just graduated from college and just landed her job. And though AI was kind of the starting point, it was very much we looked at the skill sets, made sure it spoke in her voice so that she can comfortably speak about it in an interview. So I just wanted to bring that point up before you go into the skill metrics, Kat.
I agree with you on that, Roz. It's a starting point, but it shouldn't be the crutch. So I completely agree with you. It's a great way to start.
Yes.
So when we talk about the skills matrix, are we on this slide? I don't know if we're on this one or the next one. I'm not sure. So what we're doing here, the purpose of this, so we talked about skills, attributes, and sort of the future vision. So skills and attributes can be taught and learned. Future vision is that thing that you think about yourself. What does your future life look like? Do you live in a bustling city? Do you live where you get off at 5 and you get to go fishing or ride a horse or something? You really have to start to think about what is your future vision? What is it that is important to you? And what we're trying to do is take all three of those things, your skills, your leadership attributes, and your future vision, and compile them to help, and AI helps you do this, to help you understand what are the roles that would be really good for me. The number one question I get when I teach for young people or I lecture at colleges and universities is, how do I find my dream job? And it's not a direct path, but the best way to start on that journey is to do a whole lot of self-analysis. So what you see here on this slide is an example of using an AI. I think in this case it was chat, but it could have been any of them. And that was the exact verbiage that was put into AI, and it resulted in this matrix to the right. Now, again, AI is a starting point, right? So what it kicked out was this information. And then if we go to the next slide, Kate, the next step in this was using that matrix, picking out a few of them that just feel right. A lot of this is, you're learning what jobs are right for you. When I talked about future vision is experiences, skills and attributes are learned and taught. Future vision is only learned by experiences and exposure. So you don't have the exposure to all the jobs yet. So you're starting here. So you're saying, okay, well, those sound interesting to me. You might even Google it or put it in AI and find out more information. What does a social media manager do? What does a coordinator do? And find out a little bit more of it. And then you start to narrow it down and you map to the companies. In this case, I used exactly those words and I put it into the chat. And this is the matrix that came out of it. These are the roles that are open within 60 miles of Chicago. And that is the source, Indeed. So we talked a little bit earlier about the sources. Is somebody on one of the early or prior to the webinar asked about TikTok. TikTok is still not surpassing LinkedIn and Indeed for full-time roles. It's great for more part-time or gig jobs, but remember that it's going out to millions of people immediately It's really, it's very, very difficult to get those jobs. Very difficult to get those jobs.
And Kat, I
Um,
wanted everyone to realize this is your daughter, right? Isn't this
it
your
is my daughter. My
Yeah, so does your
daughter,
daughter utilize this aspect? So,
that's right.
yes,
She did. And she ended up, I think if we go to the next slide, which is, oh, I thought we had, okay, so the company mapping. So then she found out the organizations that made sense for her, and she targeted some of them. And by targeting, so company mapping is using the information that you have and finding the organizations that offer opportunities in that space. But where the real work comes into play is on the next one with validation. So you don't trust AI. The thing you do then is you validate, what does this job truly exist? You go to the company websites. What are your practical considerations? Can I afford this job? Can I live where I want to live? And can I pay off my loans? And can you imagine staying at the role for 2 to 5 more years? So one of the ways that she validated is she started to reach out to people. She started to network. She started to ask everybody she knew. She spoke to so many people, and she did that through networking. And networking is probably the most important thing you can do at this stage. Our next slide is about outreach. That is really your networking. It's much easier to people will be more willing to stick their neck out if they know you. They know for sure that you're telling them the truth. They know who you are. They know that you have ethics. They know that you have values. So you start with the people closest to you, and just set your mindset that networking is fun. People have such a negative connotation, but if you think of it, you're making new friends. It's not a chore, and networking is a lifelong pursuit. It will help you find friends. And Roz and I met on LinkedIn. It will help you find doctors. Your network will help you find nannies if you need them, or vacation locations. It really is an amazing tool. It's not just for business, it's in general. You're going to find people that you will become lifelong friends with. And remember this little sidebar here. Many companies offer incentives to their employees for bringing people, for making recommendations for new hires. So you can also look at it like, if Roz recommends me to somebody at her organization to talk to me, I'm honored by that, first of all, but it's Roz's reputation. So when people actually stick their neck out for you, it's a huge vote of confidence. And so you really want to take that very seriously. Then you talk to the people that you know best, and then you start using LinkedIn. And let's just use this example. Let's say I wanted to get together with LHH. The first thing I would do is go to the LHH LinkedIn page and start to find out, is there anybody that I know that works there already? Talk to those people. If I don't know anybody, it's okay. Start looking at the people. There's a button that says people. You go to LHH, then you go to people, and it draws the list of all the people that are registered on, or that have profiles on LinkedIn that work at that organization. Find some that are your level, entry level, somebody that has a job that you're interested in. Connect with them. Connect with people at all levels, maybe the manager of that level, and don't be afraid to go to the very highest level. It won't hurt. And if you have rationale, if you've done that job matrix or career matrix, and you know that you align with that role and you can speak with conviction, they're really going to be happy that you're reaching out to them. And remember this, even the people that didn't hire you are still in your network, and it's important to keep in touch with them, because the reason people don't hire is as broad as the reason people do hire. It could be that they have a relative that wanted the job. It could be that the budget dried up. It could be that they decided to just take it in a slightly different role. It could be that somebody's more aligned with the job. It can be any reason. So don't start, my kids sometimes make up stories on why they didn't get a job. We don't know why we didn't get a job, but those are still people in your network, and they are the most impressed. If you don't get a job and you say, I wish it had gone a different way, but if it's okay with you, I'd like to still stay in touch. That is very respectable, and they will respect you for that, and they'll remember you next time if you keep in touch. Now, networking is it's all about consistency. So I highly recommend purchasing or even using the free versions of a personal CRM tool, customer relationship management tool, or a spreadsheet. When I did this lots and lots of years ago, I did it on a spreadsheet. And the reason to do it, and you can even have AI do this, you can have them create a schedule of your outreach to your network. And the reason to do this is you want to connect with them and you want to talk to them when you're not asking for something. Because then in a few years, when you are asking for something, they're going to help you because you didn't just come to them when you needed something. You maybe tell them that you read about them in the news or whatever it is, just like a friendship, any friendship. That's what you're trying to do, is build friendships.
Yeah, I agree. Your network is your net worth, right?
Yeah.
And so I love what Kat says. I mean, follow the company so you know what's happening in that organization. So you have something else that you can outreach to them and talk about and show your interest. I will say in my career, what I do, I've been doing this for 12 years. My LinkedIn network has been very instrumental for me in building and connecting with people within my community, within my focus area. Just like Kat said, I just reached out to her on LinkedIn. We connected, we started chatting, we had commonality, and then we just built, kind of our partnership from there. So don't, kind of be, I guess, get out of your comfort zone, because someone said here in the chat, as someone that struggles with the confidence of messaging others to network, attending these webinars and group meetings is a great way to start. Absolutely. So now you have individuals here, there's a commonality, right? And so I would say start somewhere and expand your network, because the way you learn and kind of being able to have more of those confidence in those conversations, this is a great start. Also want to touch too, Kat, someone put in here, someone mentioned that now we were talking about AI, they've seen companies ask applicants to click a box to confirm that they didn't use AI to create your resume and cover letter on the application submission. And that's very interesting. I was just at a board meeting on an advisory board for one of the local university colleges here, and they're trying to incorporate maybe something where when they're doing their assignments or home or tests or anything like that in their law focus in their department, how do you confirm that it's not AI? So that's really interesting that companies are trying to figure a way out to make sure that there's authenticity in there. That's why we want to make sure that if you do utilize it as a foundation, to make sure you still make it your own voice.
You are so right. And I'm on some think tanks for young professionals, or to target or to analyze or to understand and to help young professionals. And it's not far away for the software to have come out that identifies AI. They already can, but it's getting better and better. And so they're going to know anyway. So it really doesn't make sense to completely fully just use it through AI. AI is efficient in so many ways, but it will never take away it will never match your personality. So the second one that says she's or he or this person struggles with confidence and messaging, that is so amazing that you had confidence to write that. That's incredible. And I think what is going to happen, and I believe this, is that it's going to be very difficult to get that first job or that first interview. But when you have the interview, it's your personality that's going to sell it. And so don't be afraid of being authentic like that is so authentic. And that's a person that I would love to talk to and help out. So if you wrote that to me in a LinkedIn message and said, would you be willing to talk to me because I'm a person that struggles with that, blah, 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 I would say yes in a minute, and we would be on a call very quickly. Don't be afraid to be vulnerable and to be authentic and show your personality. AI is never going to match that.
You're exactly right. I mean, even for my daughter, she did an internship last summer. And even though it ended up, what she did was she connected them on LinkedIn and then stayed in touch with them. And now, just 3 weeks ago, she got a permanent offer from them because she stayed in touch. She was interested. She stayed connected. Then that's what your network can do for you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Your
Right.
internal network.
All right, next slide. So as we wrap up, Kat, I know there probably might be some questions, but we can go refer back in the chat. But let's talk about a little bit about, if you boil down a lot of what we said, what would you think would be the biggest takeaway that you want to share with these individuals as called next to action, like actionable items they could do today?
Okay, so the first thing is I kind of use this framework on almost all projects, honestly. What is the current state? What is the ideal state? How do you get there? And how do you stay there? The current state, who am I? What do I have to offer? What do I love to do? What's my future vision? All about me. Figure that out. Put some thought into that. And then what is the ideal state? Well, the ideal state is that I make enough money to pay off my student loans, and I work in this area, this geography, and I get to use my creativity, or I get to use my analytic skills. That's the ideal state. And that's where you do all the mapping that says, okay, these companies have careers that match to my interests and values. Some people have very strong, a very strong push toward environmental or social causes. Make sure that you identify that. And then as you're validating, as you're looking at that current state, I mean, the ideal state, you're also vetting the companies. So the company may look amazing, but they don't align with your values. So they get tossed, right? And so, this is a time when you're doing all of this planning. And then how do you get there? That's when you start the networking and the resume building and outreach and narrow it down. Instead of sending 50 zillion resumes out to 50 zillion companies, narrow it down and make sure that your resume is dead set right in the middle. Now, back to the networking thing for 1 second. That's a little bit more about this slide. Tell people exactly what you want from them. I get people to come to me all the time that say, can you help me find a job? What do you want to do? I want to do marketing. What kind of marketing? Really anything. And that doesn't, people are so busy. It's not because they don't want to help. It's because they become very busy. But if somebody said to me, I want to work for LHH in marketing and in healthcare marketing or something to that effect, I can find a person to connect them to. Do you have 3 to 5 people that you can connect me with that could help me network? I'm not asking for anything. I just want to network. Be very specific so that people don't have to spend a lot of time, because I don't have the time to organize everybody else's careers. No one does. You have to organize it yourself and then feed it to me like I'm a baby.
So, Kat, let me ask you this with that question. I love that you said that. Do you think if they started off with the skill metrics, would that help them kind of refine their attributes of what they're looking for? So say,
Yes.
for example, my other daughter, I have 2 girls, they're both Gen Zers. She got a degree focused in marketing. And we all know those who, maybe have a passion within that space. And I noticed your examples with your daughter. She wasn't sure because you learned many different aspects of marketing, right? But she did finally figure out when she got her first job, what was it that she was passionate about. But say you're not there yet, right? Would you suggest starting with your skill metrics, kind of
Yes.
getting those attributes to kind of redefine what that focus is?
Yes, that's an excellent point. I wish we had more time, because we could dive into in depth into each one of these categories. But yes, you start with what you're trained in, what your knowledge is. And then when you're in that organization, then you network within the organization and you start to learn, okay, I'm in marketing, but if I have lunch with somebody in sales, maybe they teach me that I am better at sales, or it sounds really interesting to me. I want to try that. So once you get in, there's a whole webinar. I think we're going to send something out after this, and it gives you a couple of ideas on this. But there are 3 stages of your networking. There are 2, internal and external, but within those, there's sponsors, mentors, and your personal board of directors. So sponsors are those people within your organization that will help further your career. So you get to know them, they get to trust you. You go to them for advice, just like a mom or a dad. You go to them when you have questions and you need advice, and they begin to really understand you and help you mold the next step of your career. Mentors are people that are outside of your organization that can be in any field, but they have a different level of understanding of different markets, and they do the same thing, but it's external. And then your personal board of directors are those 2 combined, plus maybe your best friends or the people that know you best that can say, what are you thinking about? That does not align with your value system. So those are really, and those are the people that you hold close to you. Your career is something that I feel so strongly that people don't often spend enough time on. They may work and train to run a marathon, work on it every single day, but they only think about their career during a review or once a year, maybe at New Year's. It's something that you need to dedicate yourself to all the time. Be thinking about it. And I use AI personally to do that for me. I have my an AI journal that tells me when I'm starting to feel weak in one area or I have strengths in another area. So there are many, many ways to do it, to simplify it and make it less cumbersome, but super informative.
And I love that. I mean, I love how you broke down those tips for them to start off. And so if you feel like, wow, this was a lot of information, as we stated before, we will have a follow-up. So be on the lookout for an email that will kind of outline what we discussed, kind of give you next steps on how you can take action today. If you're still trying to figure out, I love the skill metrics. I know when Kat first showed it to me, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm just curious for myself, even though I'm in my career and been in my career for a while. But it really gives you a true depiction of your attributes, your strengths. And I think if you want a good starting point, I would definitely start there and then start figuring out and then doing that research. I love where there was an example of positions within my area that you could start looking at companies, start following those companies, start connecting with individuals in the companies. And then once you narrow that down, and then now you can start doing your outreach and reaching out to them and connecting with them, and then start applying for your positions that really resonate with you. So I'm going to choke back to the chat just to see if there's any other questions that maybe we can answer. If we didn't get to your question, feel free to reach out to Kat, follow her on LinkedIn, follow me on LinkedIn. We are there, as we say, as we always say, is, kind of build that network there. I see one more question coming in there. Do you see that one, Kat? So it says, given that I won't use AI with my resume, how does that give one an edge over the ones that are ATS compliant, which I know is most of Gen Z's worry that ATS system will flag the resume not good enough. How do we navigate?
So if you've done this work and you've identified a career that aligns, then your resume should pass the ATS. Now, there might need to be keywords in there, and that there are tons of software packages and software, not just AI, but lots of software that can help you identify the ATS words that are key in that job posting. But the point is, you're gonna have them. You may use a different word. One of the things that I use a lot in an example is the word training. People say, a lot of job postings say, it's a training job. Now, what does that mean? Because training for some people means you're going to stand in front of a room and speak. Training for others means you're going to write a training manual. So you really need to define what it is that they're looking for and make sure that because AI won't do that. AI is going to say training. It's not going to say what type of training. And the ATS system is looking for those keywords. So if the keyword is training, you got to use the keyword training, but you also need to define what kind of training you feel that you're going to excel at. And does that job align? Is that answering? I wonder if that's answering the question. Is changing job titles on the resume? No. Well, no, wait, let me, maybe I don't understand it. You need to be honest. If your job was marketing assistant, your title needs to be marketing assistant, because when an organization goes back to your company and says, was this person a marketing assistant? They need to be able to say yes. However, in the bullet points, those can say, whatever the role is, I managed 7 people or whatever the role is. If it's you identify what is lacking in the job title and you add it into the bullets. Is that clear?
Great. I mean, exactly what I was going to say. Your job title needs to reflect, because when they call references, when they do follow-up. I mean, even now, if they require background, it needs to match with your employer or what that title is. So that was great advice, Kat.
Good. And my final thought on this, I'm happy to stay and answer as many questions as we have, but I just want to encourage you to reach out to me on LinkedIn if you want to stay connected. And if there's a way that I can help, be specific, and I will do my best to help. It's my passion. I want to help people find the right people, companies find the right people, and I want people to find the right companies, kind of like a matchmaker.
Yes, exactly. And I get to do that every day, which is wonderful.
Yes.
There is one more question I want to see. It says, what are some key workplace behaviors or soft skills that recruiters value most in entry-level candidates today? I think it goes back to our slide about the elephant in the room, right, Kat?
I don't see that question, but I think what you said is, what are the key things they're looking for?
Yes, soft
Okay.
skills.
Okay, well, what I
entry-level
would do
candidates.
if I was writing a cover letter, okay, now we've already talked about ATS, so you have to have certain words in your resume and in your cover letter. And what you can also do is just kill the elephant in the room. I'm a great communicator. If you are, if you're not, don't say it. But whatever you are, there's a list. Those myths, I'm sorry to say, there are a lot more. And you're going to have, one of those is going to be something that you can just blow out of the water. So find that thing, find a couple of those. Do you go to your prompt? I'm always prompt, and be prompt. Be prompt. Dress the part. Just play the game. It's just play the game, really. That's what they're looking for. So yes, put bust those myths in your cover letter. I'm prompt, I'm professional, I'm very empathetic, because, and I believe that would be great in your marketing associate role or whatever it is. Figure out how to incorporate those, bust them right out of the water.
Right, and then deliver, right?
Yeah.
So make sure those, like Kat said, make sure you list those attributes that your strengths, and you may not have strengths of all of them, right?
No one does.
For example, my daughter, her strength is writing. She's a great communicator in writing format, right? My other one is great with numbers. She's very analytical. So lean in on those. Those are skills,
Yes.
though some of them are hard skills. There are some soft skill attributes to that, and that's what they highlight. So think about those. And I think when you do the skill metrics, that will highlight some of those skills too as well, that you can lean into and leverage that when you're doing your communication and outreach to your contacts.
Another word that I like, and I would say if there was one word I put in every single cover letter, it would be coachable. I'm coachable, because it's really frustrating when somebody thinks that they have all the answers. And that goes for me when I'm working with founders, young founders or old founders in general. And they think that they want me to help, but they never take the advice, and they're not coachable. It's really painful.
Yeah, I love that. And I see several people are looking for you, Kat. So when we send out a follow-up, they said there's a lot of Kat Walshes on LinkedIn. So that's how exciting they're looking for you.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
So, but when the follow-up email will definitely, I think we will have her, we can have that provided too as well if you have a difficult time finding her. So that way you can link in with her too as well. But thank you so much for being engaging. Thank you for the questions. I hope this will be helpful for you. Like I said, we'll have some follow-up so that you can actually do these steps. So if you didn't remember anything, someone put it in. Thank you so much, Kate.
Yeah, thank you.
It's in the chat now. Kat's LinkedIn. Please LinkedIn with her. Reach out to her. When she says that she truly wants to be helpful, wants to be able to be a resource for you, she truly means that. Because she is just wonderful and always a giver. So please do not hesitate. Reach out to her, and I'm sure she'll be back in touch with you.
You want to be my PR manager? Thank you for those kind words.
Well, if there's nothing else, everyone, thank you so much for joining. Be on the lookout for the follow-up. Be on the lookout for any of our upcoming webinars. And we do have a survey questionnaire for you. If you can fill that out, we will love to get your feedback, love to know what you would like to see next. And until next time, I hope you all have a great day.
Bye. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.